Well, my first You Gotta Have Hart episode, Neil Young and the Joe Rogan Spotify thing, got a bunch of views and a bunch of comments and things like that, got a bunch of discussion. And that's, of course, the whole point of this is to get people talking. So anyway, a couple things before I start on this topic. First, my plan was to use the room that I used for the first video. It's where I work. It's nice and quiet. It's well lit. It has a nice, background and all of that. And the problem is, it's a music school, and it has other people in it besides just me. Something around, just off the top of my head, maybe 70 or 80 hours a week. I mean, we're talking like Monday through Friday, 10 or so in the morning to 8 or 9 at night, and Saturdays, and I'm actually even in on Sundays myself, but there's nobody else, so that's when I did the last one. So I'm just going to do it kind of wherever. And then I got thinking, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of pressure to kind of think of a thing every single Sunday. And then I have to record something, I have to edit it, I have to upload it, it all has to be ready to roll for Sunday. Then what happens if I'm doing something like Friday or Saturday? Okay, well, now I have to have it done like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday or something, and edit it, and then I have to start planning ahead, and it kind of takes the spontaneity out of it, and I want to keep it very spontaneous. I thought of it, and I'm actually going completely unscripted again today. So anyway, my thought today, sort of continuing on with the Neil Young thing, is censorship. And I've, of course, already seen all the memes, or not all, but a whole bunch of memes about like Neil Young, like, a picture of him looking like a, grumpy old man. And then the text says something along the lines of, like, if you don't censor what I don't like, then you won't be allowed to listen to my song Rockin' in the Free World. And first off, that's silly, because he's not asking somebody to be censored. Because I read his statement online, he's stating that I disagree with this guy, I disagree with what he's doing, and I disagree with his misinformation. And Joe Rogan has stated, he has, a year and a half ago, I think it was, he publicly apologized for misinformation. So he knows exactly what he's doing, and he has a history of doing it. And that's fine, because he has a podcast and he's trying to sell. He's trying to make money. He's selling himself. He's selling his podcast. Spotify is using him to make money themselves. I get it. That's totally fine. Okay, but let's not kid ourselves that he thinks he's changing the world with the truth. Okay, he's not. Joe Rogan has apologized and all of that. He knows he has said that he should not be seen as a source of information, he's not a source of credible information. He's an entertainer, he's entertaining, and that's fine. So Neil Young is simply saying, I think, from his statement, I can't speak for him, of course, but I disagree with what he's doing, and Spotify, if you continue to air his podcast with what I disagree with, then I'm stepping out. Then I'm taking my stuff, taking my ball and going home. And that has nothing to do with censorship, I don't think. That has everything to do with, like, the freedom and free market. So Neil Young can do whatever he wants. Joni Mitchell can do whatever she wants. She sided with him. Nils Lofgren, I believe, also sided with him, with Neil Young. And they can do whatever they want, and that's free enterprise. And Spotify can decide, well, we're in it for money, okay? I mean, clearly Spotify is not in it to for any moral grounds, okay? They're in it to make money. It's a business, so they can weigh and decide what they want to do from a business standpoint. That's totally fine, okay? None of this has anything to do with freedom of speech, okay? And let's talk about freedom of speech for a second. Okay, a lot of people cry like, oh, freedom of speech, and you should be allowed to say whatever you want to say. Think about it for a second. Everybody with half a brain knows that that is false. Okay, you can't say anything you think. Okay, if you could, then there would be no such thing as like libel cases. There'd be no laws against slander, because you could just say whatever you want. You have the freedom to do that. You don't. You don't have the freedom to do that. Okay? You don't have the freedom to talk about, like, say, making a bomb. Okay? You don't have the freedom of that. You don't have the freedom to take certain photos of children and post them, or share them publicly. Heck, you don't have the freedom to take photos, private photos, okay, nothing at all sexual, just private photos. You can't take private photos of people and use them publicly without their consent, okay? So there is no freedom that's just unilateral, everything and anything goes. Okay, you don't have the freedom to rob a bank. You don't have the freedom to, kill somebody. You don't have the freedom to burn a house down. Okay, there are laws against all of that, and the laws are to protect people. It's as simple as that. So now we're going to take a sidestep to like the whole COVID thing. People saying like, oh, well, nobody's going to tell me to wear a mask and things like that. Like, you can't make laws to do this. What about my freedoms? But the laws change, okay? And we've just discussed that you don't have complete unilateral freedom. Nobody does. That's just silly. That's anarchy. And it's just mayhem, okay? As much fun as mayhem may be. But, people are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed, So, okay, let's talk about seatbelt laws, okay? There used to be no automobiles. So there were no seatbelt laws, of course. Then somebody invented the automobile. Then people started producing lots of automobiles. Prices came down. People could buy automobiles. Industrial, not industrial revolution, but industry grew and society grew, and now people pretty much need a car. So everybody has a car, just about. Families sometimes have 2 or 3 cars or more, depending how many people live there. And so then all of a sudden, they needed laws. Okay, you need to have your car registered, because people are going to just be doing random stuff with cars, and the government needs to kind of know what's going on and everything. All right, and let's ignore like the Big Brother aspect of it. So then we have okay, I remember growing up, there were no seatbelts. Then I remember growing up, there were seatbelts, but nobody used them. Okay, so at some point they go, hey, there's been studies and all these people have been shooting through the windshield in car accidents and stuff. Let's make a law about seatbelts, because we need to protect people kind of from themselves. So laws, as things change, laws have to change. Okay, it's sort of a fluid situation. So Yeah. Mask, like everything. Sure, laws come into play, laws get passed as things happen that change. Okay, so now back to the censorship thing. So they're talking about banning books. They just banned a graphic novel, Mouse, Maus, and I have not read it. I've never even heard of it. I saw the little picture of the mouse and I was like, that looks familiar. But anyway, so, banning books and things. It's silly to me because, people need to take responsibility for themselves, okay? I know some of the books that have been banned, I've read a bunch of them, and you read them and it's like, okay, Huckleberry Finn, okay? It uses a derogatory term for his friend Jim, okay? Even if you haven't read the book, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, okay? At the time, it's just what he was called. Okay? He was Huckleberry Finn's friend. He wasn't this secondary character that was like a bad guy and stuff, so let's call him bad names. He was his friend, and that's what he was called. So to ban the book because of that, I think is silly. A better way to go about it is to have parents, teachers, but shouldn't parents really be the number one teacher of children? Okay, so parents can talk to kids about it and say, okay, well, at this time in history, that was a term that was used, and it's now has become, things change, as we just talked about. It now has become a term that we don't use because it can be hurtful to people, and it's mean to be hurtful to people, and you don't want to do that. So just don't do it. But it existed, and to try to kind of erase that it ever existed, I think, is really a disservice to society. We need to learn from mistakes. The book, Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451, I think, is the temperature that books ignite at. I think it's 451, Fahrenheit 451. At the end of that book, okay, and that's a book, oddly enough, it's a book about book burning, banning books, and burning books, and burning the houses that the books were found in, to really send a message. So ironically, and then at the end of the book, they're talking, I'm not going to give out any spoilers, but sort of the heroes of the story, depending which side you lean on, I see them as heroes. They're discussing, and they say, well, like the phoenix, the mythological creature that springs back to life from its ashes after being burned, Fahrenheit 450, they're burning books. So the phoenix springs back to life. Mankind does that also, and this is what's in the book. Mankind does this also, springing back to life. But we have the ability to remember our mistakes and hopefully not repeat those mistakes. And then they also talk about there should be a big building, I think a factory maybe, but a big building with mirrors so that people can take a real good, long, hard look at themselves. And I think that's the real issue here, okay? When you're censoring something, I don't see the point, okay? I understand censoring something that is just absolutely flagrantly harmful, okay? Like, you're not allowed to talk about blah, 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 because, I'm not going to get into it, but like mass shootings at schools and stuff, if somebody's talking about that, we need to take action, Okay? But anything like Huckleberry Finn, read the book. It's a good story. And discuss the things in it. And try to enlighten yourselves and try to improve yourselves and try to improve society. By getting rid of it all, we're taking all of that potential discussion away from people. And I think that's the wrong thing. So that's my TED Talk about book burnings and freedom of speech and oppression and censorship and all of that. So hope you liked it, and if you have any things that you'd like me to talk about, or if you just want me to shut up, comment, because on YouTube, a comment is a comment. As they say in showbiz, there's no bad publicity. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share is the biggest thing, comment, and that's about it. So see you next time.